Hello and welcome back to the Cars.co.za YouTube channel. I'm Ciro De Siena and this is a new Suzuki Fronx and I have nothing bad to say about it. So thanks very much for watching this video. We'd love it if you subscribed. All right, be safe. Bye. No, I should probably do it, but more than that, let me give you a full review of the Suzuki Fronx. And if you are looking to buy a used Suzuki, we have thousands on our site right now. We'll put a link to that stock in the description below. Go find yourself a good Suzuki. But if you want a new one, stick around. Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
Who am I?
Whoever you are, with budget you could save $420 per month.
Right, so what is this? Well, basically it's a high-riding Suzuki Baleno with a terrible name. Honestly, where did they get Fronx from? Who signed that off? I've got an idea. Let's have a competition. Leave a better name for this car in the comments below. I'll choose the one I like the most and I'll send you a Cars.co.za mug. How's that? Because I just can't gel with this word Fronx. What does it mean? What does it do? Where does it come from? It's just such a weird name. It almost puts me off the car, actually. Maybe I'm just being pedantic, but anyway, that's how I feel about it. But let's move past the name to the substance of the vehicle, because as I said, I really like this car. So I've been living with this car for a week now, and honestly, it's the sort of car that I could drive every day to and from work. It is a great little commuter car. And one of the reasons I like this car so much is because I feel it is such good value. Let's get into the pricing because it's quite important. So you can get into one of these for $279,000. That gets you a pretty well-spec'd GL model. It's got things like climate control, electric windows, that sort of thing. But I'm driving the GLX Auto and I would recommend springing for this one. You can get the GLX manual for $311,000 and then you pay an extra $24,000 and you get this, the Auto. Now that 24,000 Rand is also the difference between the top spec Fronx and the top spec Baleno, which is just a sort of small compact hatchback, a little bit bigger than a Swift. But here you're getting a crossover. You're getting something which has that SUV feeling. You're getting that high ride height, that visibility over the road. And I can't imagine, especially if you're financing the car, why you wouldn't just go for one of these over a Baleno. In fact, I've always felt like Suzuki treats Baleno like the sort of middle child of their range. They've never seemed to concentrate on it very much. And now I think, to be honest, they've put the nail in the coffin of that car, because I just think you should buy one of these. Just walk into a dealership, walk past the Baleno, buy a Fronx. So what do you get for your money? Well, let's start with what is propelling the vehicle, and it is a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated, so no turbo, which means it should pretty much last forever. It's actually the 4-cylinder motor from the Jimny, so there's a lot of common parts and that should make sourcing parts quite easy, hopefully. And power outputs are 77 kilowatts and 138 Newton meters. Now, if you don't speak car nerd lingo, let me translate that for you. The power figure is not bad, but the torque figure is actually pretty low. So if you're full up in the car or you're towing or whatever the case may be, you are going to feel it a little bit. The engine's going to struggle. You might also feel that it struggles a little bit at altitude up in Gauteng, but the reality is that this car is actually very light. It's just over a ton, which means that there's not much mass to move around. And so when you're just cruising at sort of normal 60, 70k an hour speeds, it does feel like there's more than enough power. Now, if you go for the 5-speed manual, you then of course get to control what the engine's doing. But with this 4-speed auto, I found that it's actually fine. You just leave it to do its thing. And you know, for me, the mark of a good auto box is when you don't know it's there, and they've pretty much got that right on this car. Now, interestingly, the box has an overdrive feature. So what that does is when you're cruising in 4th gear, it brings the revs down and brings the fuel consumption down, makes it a more comfortable drive. However, it's a bit difficult to overtake when the revs are so low, so you hit a button on the side of the gear shift which switches off the overdrive, raises the revs, and then you can go much more easily for an overtake. If I have any complaints, really, it's that the engine is a little bit grumbly in terms of its tone, and when you're pushing up at the higher end of the rev range, it does sound like it's straining a little bit. But you so rarely are running to the red line in a car like this. It's not exactly like a BMW M2 where you're just constantly chasing the red line. In this, you're just cruising around town, maybe doing 80, 100, 120 on the highway, and it copes with that perfectly fine. But it is a little bit grumbly. All that being said, though, again, not a deal breaker. Easily live with it. Just turn up the really, really good radio, actually, the really good sound system, which is how you fix most problems in cars, with the volume button. That's how I fix everything in my old cars. Turn up the volume. In terms of ride quality, I'm pretty impressed. Again, nothing wrong. Suzuki seems to have a really good balance between a firm-ish suspension so that the car doesn't fall over in the corners, and a very comfortable ride as well. In fact, I think it leans a little bit more to comfort, but that's what you want from a car like this. You want it to deal well with road imperfections and speed bumps and all the rest of it. And of course, you know, up in Gauteng, there's sort of more potholes than road, so you do want a bit of extra ground clearance, and I think this ticks those boxes. It actually has 170 mils of ground clearance, which is really decent for a car of this size. In terms of your backup here, very decent warranty, bit of a short service plan. So your warranty is 5-year, 200,000 kilometers. That's very decent. 2-year, 30,000 K service plan. So that'll cover 2 services. And then just keep in mind that for the rest of the services to keep your warranty, the services are for your account. But that's, again, fairly common at this end of the market. What I've always found quite interesting about Suzuki is that overseas they sell their cars with turbocharged engines, but in South Africa they don't. And that was a very conscious decision made by Suzuki South Africa. And I think it's one that's actually worked out, because their engines tend to be pretty much bulletproof, and they also tend to be very, very efficient. So for instance, Suzuki claims 5.5 liters to the 100 for this car, and I've seen as low as 6.1 in here when I've been driving. It's a little higher now, but it drops on the highway. And I think that if you drive very carefully, you'll get close to that figure of 5.5, which is amazing for a car this size. It really, really is. And I think we've sort of learned our lesson with small displacement turbo engines. They really aren't as economical as manufacturers hope for them to be. And then you just have all the extra complexity of turbocharging, which is just more bits and pieces to go wrong, really. And also, an unstressed engine, an unturbocharged engine, just generally will have less issues than a turbocharged engine. So while the rest of the world seemed to have moved on to small turbocharged motors, Suzuki stuck it out with these NA motors, and I think it was the right way to go, because I've actually had a lot of personal experience with this particular motor. I bought a Suzuki Ciaz as an Uber car, and that car in 4 years did 300,000 kilometers. It went through 2 floods. It was in 5 accidents, one of them pretty serious, repaired each time, obviously. And the only thing that broke on that car was the front window motor, and it could have even just been the switch. We never actually got it sorted out. And then we still sold that car for half of what we bought it for at the end, even with all that mileage on it. I mean, it was just a wonderful ownership experience, and I think that's what Suzuki offers, and I think that's why they've made such a success in our market. I mean, they're literally nipping at the heels of Volkswagen right now. They're the 3rd biggest brand in this country, and to me it's no real surprise. It really, really isn't. The reality is that this car has to be very, very good, because it is going into and competing in one of the most crowded segment in our market. In fact, when I try to remember every car in this segment, I almost always fail. I think I counted 10 at one point, and it's everything from Renault Kiger, Nissan Magnite, Chery Tiggo 4 Pro, Kia Sonet, Hyundai Venue, Volkswagen T-Cross. Wow, I'm actually doing quite well today. But as you can see, a very, very busy segment. And this car, in my opinion, is much better value than something like a T-Cross. Yes, a Volkswagen T-Cross is a bit more of a premium offering, definitely, but it's about the same size car. So if you're just looking for a certain amount of car, then I think bang for buck, the Suzuki has it. Now, if you want to watch some reviews of almost all of those cars that I've mentioned, you can find the links in the description below. I think we've filmed just about every single one of those cars for the channel. Personally, the one I really like the most out of all of them is actually the Chery Tiggo 4 Pro. I think that's actually a super, super little car. Fairly similar pricing to this Suzuki as well. For me, it would be a bit of a tough choice between the two, actually. Right, let me give you a tour of the interior of the Fronx Soul Brother. We'll start over here with this tiny little armrest with a tiny little bin. Not hugely useful, if I'm honest. This is the handbrake. You might be familiar with this sort of contraption. This is the gear shifter over here. In front of the drinks holder, your wireless charging pad. That's a really nice touch. This is all standard, by the way. 12-volt socket, USB port. Here's your climate control. And I love the fact that even though there's a big 9-inch touchscreen, they've stuck with physical buttons for the climate control. It's just so much easier to use, especially when you're on the move. This GLX model does get the larger infotainment screen, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth. It shows your fuel consumption and your range over here on the screen, your favorite phone calls over there as well. But a nice touch for me is these buttons down here, which just don't change. So home button, there's your media, phone calls, volume buttons over there. That's a really nice and useful touch. Auto dimming mirror over here in this sun visor. You've got a lit up mirror, which is quite a nice touch. Moving down to your steering wheel, multifunction steering wheel. You've got cruise control on your right, your volume control and your phone control down here, so you don't have to take your hands off the wheel to receive or drop a phone call. You've got automatic lights, which is a really, really nice touch. In front of me here, it's hidden away at the moment, but we'll put a shot of it on the screen for you now. This is where your heads-up display folds up into place. I really like that. Electric mirrors and electric windows all round. Nice pockets in the doors to hold a drink. The seats are super comfortable, and I can't think of anything that's missing. I can't think of anything extra that I want in here. I mean, maybe massage seats would be nice, heated seats, cool seats, that sort of thing, but you're not going to find that anywhere in this segment. And I think that's just about the only thing I would want, especially in winter time as well. But that's another reason why I think the Fronx is just such good value. It just has every bell and whistle that I think you could want. Into the back seats, and I'm pretty impressed. This chair is pushed a bit far forward, but there is really decent knee room in here. I'm 5'9", so a 6-foot adult should be able to get in, maybe just scraping their head on the roof. Quite an important feature is this, a proper third safety belt for the center passenger. That's really nice to see. There's no center armrest, but that's not really a big deal. What is more important is that there's two USB ports. One's a type C and one's a type A, which is useful. You've got two little vents here as well, door pockets and electric windows at the back. And something I didn't mention when I was in the front is that if you go for the GLX model, you get 6 airbags, including curtain airbags, which I think is a fantastic feature on a car like this as well. This, unsurprisingly, is the boot. Now, it's actually of a decent size. Suzuki claims 304 liters, and that more than triples if you fold down the seats, which fold in a 60-40 split, which is really useful. There's very good depth here, and even so, there's a full-size spare underneath the boot floor. However, if you're the sort of person who maybe struggles a bit to lift heavy objects out of the boot, it is worth keeping in mind that there is quite a bit of depth here. You've got quite a big lip to get the stuff over. But let's do our standard cooler box test and have a look if it passes that. Yeah, that's good height. That's probably about a 4 cooler box boot, and it does fit under the parcel shelf. So yeah, that's pretty good. But something I wanted to point out is if you're thinking about going for the Suzuki Grand Vitara over this, the Fronx, you only actually get an extra 6 liters of boot space, which is pretty much nothing if you go for the Grand Vitara. So by going up a level or up a car, you might think you're getting a much more practical SUV, but actually the interior space is quite similar. So to summarize my thoughts on the Suzuki Fronx, really don't like the name, really like the car, would be happy to commute in something like this all day, every day. It's got just about everything you need. I can't think of what's missing. Maybe an electric tailgate, maybe could be nice, but you don't find that in any car in this segment, so you have to go for a couple segments above. I think this is a great replacement to the Vitara Brezza, which was a decent seller for Suzuki as well. It also comes in nicely under the Grand Vitara. In fact, where this pricing ends, the Grand Vitara pricing begins. But I'm not sure the Grand Vitara is enough more car. That's excellent English, Ciro, well done. I'm not sure the Grand Vitara is more of a different car. No, let me try that one again. I'm not sure the Grand Vitara represents enough of a difference to justify the price tag. I think I would just have one of these. It maybe looks a bit better and a bit bigger, so there's a bit more of that whole sort of status thing going for it, but I think I would just save the money and just have one of these. In fact, this Suzuki Fronx could be the solution to all your problems. Instead of springing for that Range Rover or something like that, buy a Fronx, save yourself millions of rands, take your kids on holiday more often. Your kids will remember those awesome holidays much more than they'll remember the car that they went to school in. So there we go. I've just solved everything. I've solved all families' problems around the country. One shot. Right, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this review useful. We've got tons of other reviews on the site. Go check out our back catalogue of over 700 videos. If you're looking for a review on a car, there's almost certainly a chance that we've reviewed it in the past. If you're looking for some entertainment, we've got tons of drag races and track races and that sort of thing. We even once raced a Suzuki Espresso against a Renault Kwid. Go and have a look at that. That's quite a fun video. Anyway, I'm Ciro De Siena. Thanks very much for joining me on this video. We'd love it if you subscribed to the channel and gave this video a like, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right, be safe. Bye.
God.
All our Silos and Archies deserve insurance that pays out.
Are you busy trying to decide between 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars? We have an excellent compare tool on our site which will help you make sense of all the different pricing and all the different specs. You'll find it on our main site as well as in our app. It's super slick, it's easy to use, it's highly detailed, it's constantly updated with the latest information and pricing, and I can guarantee you it'll make your life a ton easier. Check it out on our website, link in the description below.
Cars.co.za.